Inequality. I can solve a mathematical inequality and I can graph an inequality. So let's go over the three kinds that we've talked about. First of all, expressions. Expressions are a mathematical phrase. I'm just going to keep it short. Math phrase with no equal sign. Equations then are a math phrase with an equal sign. Inequalities then are an inequality is a math sentence or math phrase that contains one of these things. So it's not an equal sign, so it'd be a greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or not equal to sign. So let's get these in our notebook. So let's look at the first one. That would be your greater than sign. If you put a half a line underneath, it'd be greater than or equal to. Less than, remember if you put up your left hand, it makes the L, so that's the less than sign. Less than or equal to. And finally, not equal to. So we're going to learn to graph these today. So if it's a circle that colored in, it's going to include that number. If it's an open circle, it means it doesn't include that number. Arrow going to your left are all numbers smaller. Arrow going to your right are all numbers bigger. So let's look at this first one. In your notebook, I want you to write y is less than 3. Draw a line. You don't have to write all the numbers. We just need 3. We need the number bigger than 3, which would be 4. And the number less than 3, that would be 2. Now this says y is less than 2, or I'm sorry, is 3, meaning it's not going to include 3, so we put an open circle around 3. And then we need all of the numbers less than 3. All of the numbers less than 3. That would mean it would go this direction. So we kind of shade it in with a squiggly line, and we draw our arrow on the end. Basically what it's saying is the answer to this could be 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, anything to this direction. So if you put a number in, let's put 2 in. Is 2 less than 3? Then you know you're going in the correct direction. Let's try another one. T is less than or equal to 8. So in this case, I would go 8, 7, and 9. Now I have to decide. T is less than or equal to 8, meaning it's going to include 8, so I would color it in. Now I need all the numbers less than 8. It would go in this direction. And it must include 8, so it's colored in. You try this next one. All right, so I'd have -7. Going to the right would be -6. Going to your left to get smaller would be a -8. So check that you drew your number line correctly. So now I would have circled -7 and colored it in because it's going to include -7. We need all of the numbers greater than a -7. So the closer you get to 0, the bigger the numbers get. So we need all of the numbers going in this direction. So that one's a little tricky once you get into the negatives. So let's see if you can write a solution for this. Start with a variable. I'll start with n. I know it's colored in, so it's going to have to be equal to. And I know it's 1. But now I have to decide, am I looking at the numbers less than 1 or greater than 1? Well, I'm looking at the numbers less than 1. So I need all of the numbers less than 1. And there's an equation or solution for this graph. Let's try this one. You go ahead and do it. All right, so I'm going to use n. It's going to be open, so we're not going to have the less than sign. And we started at a -3. So I need all of the numbers greater than a -3 because 0, 1, 2, they're all greater than a -3. All right, you solve these just like you would with an equal sign. I draw my line down. I'm adding 8, so I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. N is greater than or equal to 11. So I would graph it by saying 11, 12, 10. I need all of the numbers. So I need to include 11 greater than 11. So that would go in this direction. All right, you try this one. Go ahead and stop the video and then begin it when you're ready. All right, welcome back. I draw my line down. I first have to add 3 to both sides, which gives me 8 is greater than or equal to 2h. Divide by 2, divide by 2, cancel, cancel, h, and then I have the greater than sign, and 4. So this one's a little tricky because it says I need all of the numbers because it's backwards. It says 4 is greater than or equal to h. A little trick I always have is always have your variable on the other side. So if you always start with your variable, you will notice the point is pointing at it. It's a little easier to read when you say all of the numbers less than or equal to 4. So 4, 5, 3. So I need, including 4, I need all of the numbers less than it. So let's look and see if that would make sense. Even if I left it this way, I can read it this way. If I plug in 3, is 4 greater than or equal to 3? Yes. If I plug in 5, is 4 greater than or equal to 5? No. So I know I've went in the correct direction. All right, you can get started on your assignment.